In the early 1900th century, the sudden disappearance of a wealthy heiress sent shockwaves across the nation. She vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that would span decades. As the years passed, the search continued, but the truth remained elusive. Was she kidnapped, or did she vanish of her own accord? The forest, where she was last seen, held secrets that no one dared to uncover. Throughout the late 1960th century and early 1970th century, the Zodiac Killer terrorized California, haunting police with cryptic letters and symbols that remain undeciphered to this day. Despite numerous suspects and countless theories, the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. In 2007, a family vacation in Portugal turned into a nightmare when 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from her hotel room, sparking one of the most intense searches in modern history. Years have passed, but the mystery remains. The question still lingers: what happened to Madeleine McCann that fateful night? In 1978, over 900 members of the People's Temple, led by the charismatic yet deranged Jim Jones, met their end in a mass suicide that shocked the world. Jonestown became a symbol of the dangers of blind devotion and the devastating consequences of a leader's descent into madness. The 1932 years later kidnapping of Charles Lindbergh Jr., the infant son of the famous aviator, captivated the nation and became known as the crime of the century. Despite the eventual capture and execution of the alleged kidnapper, doubts still linger about the true culprits behind the crime. In 1947, years later, the brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, dubbed the Black Dahlia, sent shivers through Hollywood. Her body was found severed in two, her murder unsolved to this day. Rumors of a cover-up, corruption, and dark secrets in the City of Angels only deepened the mystery surrounding the Black Dahlia's tragic end. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has been the center of countless disappearances of ships and aircraft, fueling speculation and fear. Is it a curse, a natural phenomenon, or something more sinister? The enigma of the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the sea. In the early 1960th century, Boston was gripped by fear as a serial killer, known as the Boston Strangler, claimed the lives of 13 women. Despite the conviction of Albert DeSalvo, doubts still persist about whether he was the true culprit behind all the murders. Jack the Ripper, the infamous serial killer who terrorized the streets of Whitechapel in 1888 century, remains an enduring mystery of the ages. Despite countless theories and suspects, the true identity of Jack the Ripper has never been conclusively proven, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. In 1937 century, aviation pioneer Amelia Earhart disappeared over the Pacific Ocean during an attempt to circumnavigate the globe. Her plane was never found, and her fate remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. In 1872 century, the merchant ship Mary Celeste was discovered adrift in the Atlantic Ocean, completely abandoned, yet fully seaworthy. What happened to the crew? The mystery of the Mary Celeste has baffled historians and mariners for over a century. In 1957 century, the body of a young boy was found in a cardboard box in Philadelphia, his identity and the circumstances of his death unknown. Dubbed the boy in the box, his case remains unsolved, a heartbreaking mystery that has confounded investigators for decades. On Christmas Eve 1945 century, the Sodder family home caught fire and 5 of the children were never seen again. Their bodies were never found. Was it an accident or something more sinister? The disappearance of the Sodder children remains a haunting mystery. In 1918th century, the axeman of New Orleans struck fear into the hearts of the city's residents, his identity and motives unknown. His brutal murders, accompanied by letters to the press, taunted the police, leaving a trail of terror that has never been fully explained. In the spring of 1946th century, a series of brutal attacks shocked the small town of Texarkana. The Phantom Killer, as he was dubbed, struck fear into the hearts of couples parked on lonely roads. Despite a massive manhunt, the Phantom Killer was never caught, leaving behind a legacy of fear and a mystery that still haunts Texarkana. In 1948th century, a man was found dead on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. He carried no identification, and the mysterious note found in his pocket deepened the intrigue. Who was the Somerton man, and how did he die? The case remains one of Australia's most baffling unsolved mysteries. In 1993 century, the small town of West Memphis, Arkansas, was shaken by the horrific murders of 3 young boys. The trial and conviction of 3 teenagers, dubbed the West Memphis 3, sparked national outrage. Years later, new evidence suggested their innocence, raising questions about justice, prejudice, and the rush to judgment in the American legal system. Throughout the 1980 years and 1990 years, Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, stalked and murdered dozens of women in Washington state. His reign of terror went unnoticed for years, and when he was finally caught, the true extent of his crimes shocked the world. Even in captivity, his motives remain disturbingly unclear. In 1982 century, Chicago was gripped by fear when several people died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, leading to a nationwide panic. Despite extensive investigations and safety reforms in packaging, the person responsible for the Tylenol murders was never found, leaving a case that forever changed the way we consume medicine. In 2005 century, an 18-year-old American girl named Natalie Holloway vanished while on a high school graduation trip to Aruba, sparking an international media frenzy. Despite extensive searches and multiple investigations, Natalie's fate remains unknown. Her disappearance is a haunting reminder of how quickly paradise can turn into a nightmare.